Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell is moving ahead with his government's plans to create a better economic environment for the Grenadian people, even if it means stepping on the toes of the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank to meet the needs of the people.
The standard of living of our citizens are more important than meeting some commitment to the IMF. And I will quote Mia Motley, "We are here to service people, we are not here to service debt." So if I have to choose between servicing our people and servicing debt, the answer is obvious. We will service our people.
PM Mitchell said his administration's intent is not to bloat the government service, but instead to grow the economy, which they hope the private sector will take the lead.
It doesn't mean that we will bloat the government service. To the contrary, we want to grow the economy, and we feel strongly that the growing of the economy has to be done by the private sector. But that requires us as a government to invest in the areas where the private sector will be given the opportunity to grow, which means investing in education, investing in the digital economy, the blue economy, the creative economy, areas that will give our young people in particular the opportunity to become entrepreneurs, to become small business owners, to produce and make things. Because we accept that the government cannot absorb the hundreds of Grenadians who come out of school every year. There's a finite number to government jobs, and we need the private sector to step up. We need to encourage the private sector to step up, and we have to make sure that our policies encourage the private sector to step up.
While his government is yet to assess the public service, there are some concerns highlighted during briefings with staff relating to employment positions.
There are a number of obvious things that are clear. You have significant persons in acting positions. You have significant variances between established and non-established persons. You have significant variances between contracts for services and contract of services, when most times persons are doing exactly the same thing. And in many instances, it is a distinction without a difference. So what I've indicated to the senior managers of the public service, and in particular since I'm the minister responsible for the Department of Public Administration, is that we are going to have to devise ways in which we address and solve the challenges faced by this varying different terms and conditions of service.
He said issues such as this results in the implementation of a structural adjustment program.
So the reality is, if you incur debt and if you use the monies, particularly in non-productive sectors, then exactly what happened is what happened. You will then face a structural adjustment program. You will then have to increase taxes, and then the standard of living of our citizens are the ones who are going to be affected by it. So the size of the public service, or let me put it, the size of government workers, by whatever name you choose to call them, is the size. And that's the reality. And if you govern in such a way that you place the country in the hands of the IMF and the World Bank and all these multilateral institutions, who then come back and say to you, you need to cut the size of your public service. Well, that has been going on since the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. That is what they do. So we've inherited this situation. We need to address it, and we need to fix it.
Christelina John, GBN News.